I got into Magic the Gathering via the TMNT set, and as a result, my first few commanders are all turtles. I've got 3 decks, and all 4 turtles are represented in some way, shape, or form as my commander, and here are those decks and some of their strengths and weaknesses. Dark Leo and Shredder is a black-white ninja that creates more ninjas, gives all your ninjas Death Touch, and can potentially cut your opponent's life points in half instantly. This deck is super fun. All these ninjas also tend to use the sneak mechanic, which means I can bounce out unblocked attackers for cheaper costs or stronger effects. So my deck also relies on ETB effects that I can bounce into my hand and then reuse later. This deck is super fun. It does have the tendency to be a little bit slow sometimes. I've had one-on-ones with this deck last an hour plus, and it's pretty brutal, but it still ends up winning, which is great. I'm looking forward to seeing how this deck performs in multiplayer scenarios. The card that started it all for me on my first TMNT play booster, I pulled this Silhouette Donatello Mutant Mechanic and immediately wanted to make him my first commander. He turns artifacts into artifact creatures, attaches 3 +1/+1 counters to them, and then also keeps all of your counters on the field if they would have otherwise been removed to the graveyard. I took advantage of this by making a deck that specializes in all sorts of counters, more specifically +1/+1s and charge counters, and keeps them on the field. Unfortunately, this relies heavily on Donatello surviving, so I need a lot of protection to keep him on field, so that way my effects can actually, do their thing. Last but not least is my most untested deck. I used Raph and Mikey from the precon to make a Gruul deck. Raph is going to give all of my creatures with a +1/+1 counter double power, and then Mikey is going to add additional +1/+1 counters as well as create food. So this deck creates a ton of food and hopefully relies on getting Ninja Pizza so that food can turn into artifacts. But additionally, it also adds a bunch of +1/+1 counters and has a bunch of strong creatures in there to boot. To add more to those +1/+1 counters, the Germination Practicum I pulled in my pre-release, yeah, I put it in this Turtles deck because it gives +2/+2 to all of my creatures every single turn via +1/+1 counters. That card is stupid, and if anybody doesn't counter it when they're available to, they've made a horrible error. Look, I've made all these commander decks for fun, and fun they are. Good? Debatable. They are all like bracket 2 at best, and I do not care. I have a great time with all of these decks. This is the thing I enjoy most about Commander, is finding a mechanic that I think is fun and building a deck around it. I'm looking forward to doing this more in the future. I want to make a Prismari deck that makes all my instants and sorceries have Storm, so I could just like sling a bunch of instants and sorceries at my opponents. And I'm really looking forward to making a Commander deck with Bayorn so I can attack with a bunch of bears. Commander is awesome, and I've been thoroughly enjoying it. I'm very glad I got into this hobby, even if my wallet is not.